Hey guys, in this video I'm going to be seeing if the Samsung Galaxy J1 is still suitable for use in 2024. Okay, so this phone was released in January 2015. It's 4G only, however it supports 4G, 3G and 2G. The phone was then later discontinued in 2018. So this phone only has 4GB of internal storage. However, I've inserted a 16GB SD card just to give the phone a little bit of extra boost when it comes to storage. So the phone is also currently running Android 4.4.4, otherwise known as Android KitKat. So this version has 512MB of internal RAM. Now on the screen side of things, it has a 4.3-inch display which has a resolution of 480 by 800 pixels, which is 217 ppi, powered by a Super AMOLED display. So now onto the cameras. So the camera on the back is a 5-megapixel camera. If you use it in the 4:3 ratio, before every shot it will automatically autofocus before taking the shot. I've got it set up so I can just tap anywhere and then it will autofocus and do it. The camera also has an inbuilt flash, which is pretty good for night shots. It does take a little bit to function, but once it does, it's fine. Now onto the selfie camera. It has a 2-megapixel camera. However, there is also processing on top of that. So once you take the photo and you zoom in, it retains most of its quality. So you can actually zoom in pretty far for a 2-megapixel camera, which is pretty surprising and good for something this old. Now onto the video. At 30 frames per second recording, sadly there is not autofocus, so you do have to tap when you want it to focus on stuff, which is a little annoying. The camera does have 4 times digital zoom, no optical, but it does have digital, which is pretty good. It tells you exactly how much storage used and how much storage you can use. You can also take photos and pause the recording. Onto the other camera, it is a it's VGA recording, so 480p. And once again, onto the video, you can still get that. Actually, you can't zoom in in this mode, it says. But yeah, there's no autofocus or anything, but because it is VGA, you do have a long recording time. The microphones are actually pretty decent considering the age of the phone, so I'll just put a quick sample up now. Yep, so this is my desk. This is my Canon that I used for filming. Yeah, this is my iMac that I'm editing on. It's from 2013 or something, so it's pretty old. Got this random thing right here. Yeah. Okay, so now moving on to the performance side of things. So this is running on a dual core 1.2 GHz ARM Cortex A7 CPU with, like I said, 512 megabytes of RAM. So pretty low spec, but back in the day that was fine. These days not so great, but it still gets the job done. So I'll just show you. So this is settings, then I can go on to different apps. With the apps though, most things don't actually work properly. Like YouTube, for example, it says I need to update it. So I go update, and then when it eventually loads, it just says that it's no longer supported, which is pretty disappointing, but not that surprising. Yeah, see, no longer supported. Contact the developer. Not that Google LLC would actually respond, because they never do. But anyway, so yeah, that's kind of disappointing. YouTube doesn't work. Maps does work, but it's a little glitchy when opening. There are other things on here like Hangout. I don't know what this app is. I'm just showing you the performance and stuff and speed. Okay, so this is just an app for SMS, it seems. Okay, clearly never used that. Alright, so I'll just do a quick Google search now. Yeah, so this is the old Chrome. I believe it is 4 point something. I'll just have a quick look. Yeah, so this thing's running version 36. So yeah, it's pretty old. As you can see from like the storage use, it's actually quite old. But you know, it still works like Chrome normally does. Yeah, this thing's ancient. Anyway, so websites do take a little bit to load, just depending on what you type. So yeah, we'll just go onto a random website. Actually, I'll just go ABC News. So this is on Wi-Fi at the moment, and 2.5 gigahertz Wi-Fi. So yeah, it does work. Little laggy, surprisingly well actually. It is usually slower than this, so it seems to just be working quite well now. So yeah, web pages and stuff load fairly quick now for some reason. But the more I use the phone, the slower it tends to become. So I do find that it's usually RAM problems, like the phone not utilizing the RAM and just not refreshing it, like closing old apps and all that, which modern phones do a lot better. Like even now, it's started to become a lot slower. Web pages start to lag more. I don't know why, but this is feeling like an e-reader. So yeah, that's all working. Some things do get a little iffy a little bit, like here, because it's not really supported properly. So some things will glitch a little, but you can usually just fix that by zooming in. So now onto the other side of things, app compatibility. So because this thing is from like 2015 and software support ran out in 2018, things aren't really looking too good for it in terms of app compatibility. However, Google Play Store still works, but I do find that most things don't install, especially considering I've only got 4 gigabytes of internal memory on this thing. For some reason, Snapchat doesn't show up here, which is kind of weird. So if I'll just try something else like Instagram. Yep, so Instagram comes up. Oh yeah, and because it's so old, it actually tells you exactly what it's going to use, which is kind of nice. So it tells you that with every app before you install it, like exactly what the app's going to use and what kind of data it's going to take. So that's kind of nice for privacy. So it's actually installing fairly quickly now, but as you can see, the app's kind of just chugging along a little bit, mostly. Okay, so now Instagram's downloaded. Yeah, so it's having a couple of problems now. I'm swiping like it says. Oh, here it goes. Oh, or not. Yeah, so after you use it for a bit, it does start to jug and not work that well, but it usually gets going once you use it a little bit. Alright, so now I've logged in and I get this. So as you guys saw, I just downloaded it, so there's clearly no update to install. It's clearly not supported anymore, and Instagram doesn't want to admit it. So that's a bit of a disappointment, but apart from that, your other basic functions like calling and stuff does work. It can be a little glitchy sometimes, but in the end it gets there and it gets the job done. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to call myself, going to leave a quick voice message, then I'm going to play it back through the microphone so you guys can hear just how it sounds, like the audio quality and all that.
You have reached the message bank of 5.
Hey, just testing. Alright, so now I'm gonna call voicemail and play it back through the mic. So I'm gonna go call that, and yeah.
You have 1 new message and 2 saved messages received at 11:33 p.m.
Hey, just testing.
To listen, press 1. To delete, press.
Yeah, so that's the average call quality. It's a little iffy, but it's usually okay. Gets the job done. Now on messages on the other side, this has 4G down to 2G, so messages usually send pretty quick, but it can glitch a fair bit, especially when you're like typing quickly. I find that letters sometimes double up. It's not really doing it now, but occasionally if I like try and type really quickly, letters will double up, like the X just then. So they'll double up a lot. It's usually pretty bad and annoying, but yeah, it's usually not too bad. So now we're sending like photos and stuff. You need to have mobile data enabled for photos to, like SMSs and stuff, to be sent and received. So photos usually compresses them to like 36 kilobytes or something ridiculously small. So yeah, it's not great, but they do send in the end, like this. So converting to multimedia messages is 25 kilobytes. So yeah, it's pretty small. It sends in the end, and then I usually get a message when it, does what it does, saying, do you wish to download this SMS? And then I can either press yes or just leave it as no. So yep, I get this. Oh, okay, it just automatically downloaded. So yeah, then it receives it, and then I can open it, zoom in. Stuff has compressed a bit, but overall it's not too bad. So yeah, just to kind of finalize and sum up, this phone is still usable for basic calling, texting, and very light internet browsing. However, I certainly wouldn't recommend using it for everyday use because the battery life isn't very good, usually around 3 hours, which doesn't sound that bad, but in reality it's pretty bad, and that's with battery saver enabled, the U power saving, or ultra power saving as it's called on here. So even with that enabled, it's still not great. So I always have to carry a power bank around with me when I'm using this phone, but just as a normal everyday use phone for basic business calling and stuff, it's fine for that. So maybe like as a starter phone potentially it's good. I mean, you can't use any social media because it's too old, so it's good for kids, I guess. Not really, actually. Why did I say that? Anyway, but yeah, so it's a good phone for just very light use, but otherwise you're better off just getting a different new phone that actually has decent features.